Every spring, farmers bet everything on a single window, sometimes just 48 hours wide. Asparagus doesn't grow. It erupts 6 inches in a single day. Miss that window by 24 hours and 3 years of work is worthless. No machine can keep up. Just thousands of workers racing the sun to cross 60 million pounds of asparagus before tomorrow takes everything. Now, if you've ever grown asparagus in your backyard garden, you know it's not like planting tomatoes or beans. This crop demands patience most farmers don't have anymore. And on a commercial scale, it's a whole different ballgame. The asparagus industry in America is built on a foundation that would make most modern farmers shake their heads. Because before you harvest a single spear, before you make a single dollar, you're looking at 2 to 3 full years of investment. 2 to 3 years of watering, fertilizing, and protecting plants that give you absolutely nothing in return. That's not farming, that's faith. But once those crowns mature underground, once that root system spreads out like a network of highways beneath the soil, you've got yourself a crop that'll produce for 15, sometimes 20 years straight. The same plants your grandfather planted could still be feeding families today. The catch? When harvest season hits, it hits hard. You've got maybe 6 to 8 weeks to make your entire year's income. And during that window, those fields need checking every single morning before the sun comes up. Let's start at the beginning. Because understanding asparagus means understanding what's happening beneath your boots. Most folks see asparagus as just another vegetable. But talk to any farmer who's been in the game for a while, and they'll tell you different. Asparagus is an investment crop. It's a commitment. It's the kind of decision you make when you're thinking about your kids taking over the operation someday. Year 1, you're planting crowns. These aren't seeds, mind you. These are year-old root systems that look like something between a spider and a mop head. Each crown gets planted in a trench about 6 to 8 inches deep, spaced 18 inches apart in rows that stretch further than you can see. Then you wait. Year 2, you might see some spears pop up, and I guarantee every farmer gets tempted to harvest them, but you can't. You let them grow into tall, ferny plants that look more like ornamental grass than a vegetable crop. All that growth is feeding the crown below, building up the energy reserves that'll power production for the next 2 decades. Year 3, same story. More waiting, more watching, more faith. But here's what's happening underground that makes it all worth it. That crown is spreading. It's sending out storage roots that can reach 3, 4, sometimes 5 feet deep. It's building a reservoir of energy so massive that come year 4, it can push up 25, 30, sometimes 40 spears per plant over the course of a season. That's when the real work begins. When April rolls around in California or May up in Washington and Michigan, asparagus farmers aren't sleeping much, because once those spears start coming, they don't stop. And they sure as hell don't wait for you to be ready. Here's the reality. Asparagus grows fast, faster than almost any vegetable crop in America. On a warm spring day with good soil moisture, spear can grow 8, 9, even 10 inches in 24 hours. That means a perfect market-ready spear at sunrise can be too tall and woody by sunset. So farmers are out there every single morning walking those rows in the dark with headlamps, checking every plant. The harvest window opens at first light, and by mid-morning, you want to be done. Once that sun gets high and the temperature climbs, those spears start opening up at the top, and once they do, they're worthless for fresh market. The crews are moving fast, but not rushed. There's a difference. Every cut has to be clean, precise, right at soil level. Cut too high, and you're leaving money in the field. Cut too low, and you risk damaging the crown. Damage the crown, and you've just cost yourself weeks of production, maybe more. Each worker carries a specialized asparagus knife. It's not like any knife you've seen in a kitchen. The blade is long, narrow, and sharp enough to slice through a spear in one smooth motion without tearing the fibers. Some of the old-timers still use knives their fathers used. They'll tell you a good asparagus knife, properly maintained, will outlast 3 generations of farmers. The spears go into buckets, then into crates, then onto trucks, all within hours of being cut. Because here's the thing about asparagus that separates it from corn or wheat or soybeans. The clock starts ticking the second you cut it, the sugars start converting to starch, the texture starts changing, the flavor starts fading. Fresh asparagus isn't just a marketing term, it's a race against biology. Now, most Americans know green asparagus. That's what you see in every grocery store from coast to coast. But there's another variety that commands premium prices and requires a completely different approach. White asparagus. Here's the secret. White asparagus isn't a different plant. It's the same exact variety as green asparagus. The difference is sunlight, or rather, the complete absence of it. To grow white asparagus, farmers have to prevent every single ray of sunlight from touching those spears as they grow. They do this by mounding soil over the rows, creating ridges sometimes 12 to 18 inches high. Or they use specialized fabric covers that block 100% of light while still allowing air and moisture through. The spears grow up through this darkness, pushing through the soil completely white because they never develop chlorophyll. No green color, no photosynthesis, just pure white spears with a completely different flavor profile. Milder, sweeter, more delicate. But harvesting white asparagus? That's where it gets interesting. You can't see the spears. They're underground. So farmers are out there every morning looking for cracks in the soil, little telltale signs that a spear is pushing up from below. When they spot one, they carefully dig down with their hands or a specialized tool, expose the spear, and cut it below the surface. It's slower. It's harder on the back. It requires more skill and experience. And that's exactly why white asparagus sells for 2, sometimes 3 times the price of green. Some of the larger operations have developed machines that can lift those fabric covers, expose the spears just long enough for harvest, then cover them back up. It's like watching a choreographed dance between technology and nature, all happening at dawn while most of America is still asleep. For decades, asparagus harvesting was 100% hand labor. There was no other way. The crop was too delicate, too variable, too unpredictable for machines. But American ingenuity has a way of solving problems that seem impossible. The first breakthrough came with harvesting platforms. These aren't your typical farm equipment. Picture a low-slung machine that moves through the field at a walking pace, with workers sitting or lying on padded platforms just inches above the ground. They're positioned perfectly to see every spear, make every cut, without bending over thousands of times a day. These platforms transformed the industry. Suddenly, workers could harvest 2, sometimes 3 times as much asparagus in a day without destroying their backs. The machines handled the movement, the positioning, the transport. The humans handled the judgment calls that machines still can't make. Because here's what you learn after a few seasons in asparagus. Not every spear is ready at the same time. Even on the same plant, you might have one spear that's perfect and another that needs one more day. A machine can't see that difference. A machine can't feel the firmness of the spear or judge the tightness of the tip. At least they couldn't until recently. The newest generation of asparagus harvesters uses sensor technology that would have seemed like science fiction 10 years ago. Cameras scan the rows, identifying spears by height and diameter. Pressure sensors measure firmness. Computer algorithms decide which spears meet the grade and which need more time. Robotic cutting arms, guided by those sensors, make precise cuts at exactly the right height. Conveyor systems move the spears up and back, sorting them by size as they go. The whole system can process thousands of pounds per hour with minimal human intervention. But here's what's interesting. Even on farms with the most advanced equipment, you'll still see crews of hand harvesters working alongside the machines, because the best operations know that technology is a tool, not a replacement. There are sections of field, varieties of asparagus, and market demands that still require the human touch. Once those spears leave the field, They're on the clock, and I mean really on the clock. The processing facilities are usually located right on the farm property or within a few miles of the fields. There's a reason for that. Every minute that passes after harvest, asparagus is losing quality. The sugars are breaking down. The cell walls are starting to soften. The bright green color is beginning to fade. So those trucks roll straight from the field to the processing shed. And what happens next is a carefully orchestrated operation that would impress any manufacturing engineer. First stop, the wash line. Asparagus comes in covered in field dirt, bits of mulch, maybe some morning dew. Industrial washers hit them with jets of cold water from every angle, removing debris without bruising the delicate tips. The water temperature is controlled precisely. Too cold, and you can damage the tissue. Too warm, and you accelerate deterioration. Next comes sorting. This is where the asparagus gets separated by size, length, and quality grade. The premium spears, the ones that are perfectly straight with tight tips and uniform color, those go to the fresh market. They'll be in grocery stores within 48 hours, selling for top dollar. The next grade down, still good quality but maybe a little curved or with slightly loose tips, those go to food service, restaurants, cafeterias, institutional kitchens. They'll get chopped up anyway, so appearance matters less. Then you've got the processing grade. These are perfectly good spears that just don't meet the visual standards for fresh market. Maybe they're too thin or too thick. Maybe they've got a slight bend. Maybe the tips opened up a bit in the field. These go to the canning and freezing lines. The sorting happens fast. Conveyor belts moving at speeds that would make your head spin, with workers and optical scanners working together to make split-second decisions. Every spear gets evaluated, graded, and directed to its destination in seconds. For fresh market asparagus, the next step is rapid cooling. They're hit with a fine mist of ice-cold water or moved into refrigerated rooms where the temperature drops to just above freezing. This stops the biological processes that cause deterioration. It locks in that fresh cut quality. Then comes packaging. Bundles are wrapped, labeled, and packed into ventilated boxes designed specifically for asparagus. These aren't just any cardboard boxes. They're engineered to maintain humidity while allowing ethylene gas to escape. Too much ethylene buildup, and your asparagus will yellow and soften before it ever reaches the store. Now, here's the challenge with asparagus. Americans want to eat it year-round, but it only grows for 6 to 8 weeks in the spring. So how do you bridge that gap? The answer is preservation technology that's been refined over more than a century. Canning asparagus is an art form. Those processing grade spears get trimmed to uniform lengths, usually about 4 to 6 inches. They're blanched quickly in hot water to set the color and texture, then packed into cans with a light brine solution. The cans are sealed and moved into pressure cookers called retorts. These aren't your grandmother's pressure canners. These are industrial systems that can process thousands of cans at once, bringing them up to temperatures high enough to kill every possible bacteria, including botulism spores, while still maintaining the texture and flavor of the asparagus. Done right, canned asparagus can sit on a shelf for 2 years without refrigeration and still taste good when you open it. That's not preservatives. That's just proper processing technique and good quality control. Freezing is the other major preservation method. For frozen asparagus, the spears are blanched, shocked in ice water, then flash frozen at temperatures well below zero. The faster you can freeze them, the smaller the ice crystals that form, and the better the texture when they're thawed. Some operations use individual quick freezing, or IQF, where each spear is frozen separately before being bagged. This prevents them from clumping together and lets consumers pour out exactly what they need. Between canning, freezing, and fresh imports from South America during our off-season, Americans can enjoy asparagus 365 days a year. But ask any farmer, and they'll tell you, nothing beats fresh-cut asparagus in season, harvested that morning from American soil. Let's talk about what this all means for the people who make it happen. Asparagus farming isn't for everyone. The upfront investment is substantial. You're looking at 3 years of expenses before you see a dime of income. Land preparation, crown purchase, irrigation installation, labor for planting, and maintenance. It adds up fast. But for farmers who stick with it, who make it through those first few years, asparagus can be incredibly profitable. A well-managed asparagus field can generate $8,000 to $12,000 per acre per year once it's in full production. Compare that to corn at maybe $600 to $800 per acre, and you start to see why farmers are willing to make that long-term commitment. The labor situation is complex. During harvest season, a 100-acre asparagus operation might employ 50 to 75 workers. These aren't minimum wage jobs either. Skilled asparagus harvesters can make good money, especially on piece rate systems where they're paid by the pound. Many operations rely on the same crews coming back year after year. There's a rhythm to it, a seasonal migration that's been happening for generations. Workers who harvest asparagus in California in March might move north to Washington in May, following the crop as spring moves up the coast. The relationship between farmers and their harvest crews is built on mutual respect. The farmers know that without skilled workers, the best equipment in the world won't save their crop. The workers know that a farmer who treats them right, pays them fairly, and provides good working conditions is worth coming back to year after year. It's a partnership that's essential to keeping American asparagus production viable in a global market where labor costs are often much lower overseas. One thing that doesn't get talked about enough is how sustainable asparagus farming actually is. Think about it. You plant once and harvest for 15 to 20 years. That means minimal soil disturbance, no annual tillage tearing up the ground, and root systems that go deep enough to prevent erosion and build soil structure. Asparagus doesn't need heavy fertilization like corn or wheat. Those deep roots can access nutrients that other crops can't reach. And because the harvest season is so short, there's less opportunity for pest and disease problems to develop. Many asparagus farmers use minimal pesticides compared to other vegetable crops. Water use is another advantage. Modern drip irrigation systems deliver water directly to the root zone with minimal waste. And because asparagus is a perennial, the established root systems are more drought tolerant than annual crops. The future of asparagus farming in America is being shaped by technology, but it's still rooted in the fundamentals that have always mattered: good soil, proper timing, skilled labor, and farmers who understand that this crop rewards patience and punishes shortcuts. New varieties are being developed that produce more uniform spears, resist diseases better, and extend the harvest window. Sensor technology is getting better at identifying harvest-ready spears. Processing techniques are improving quality and shelf life. But at the end of the day, asparagus farming is still about working with nature, not against it. It's about understanding plant biology, respecting the seasons, and putting in the work when the work needs doing. From the moment those crowns go into the ground to the second a fresh spear lands on your dinner plate, asparagus represents one of the most demanding, time-sensitive, and precisely managed operations in American agriculture. It's a crop that requires patience, rewards skill, and connects us to farming traditions that go back generations. Behind every bundle of asparagus is a farmer who waited years for the first harvest, workers who started before dawn to cut at the perfect moment, and a processing system that runs like clockwork to preserve that fresh-cut quality. The next time you see asparagus at the market, you'll know the real story. You'll understand the commitment, the precision, and the sheer determination it takes to bring this crop from field to table. That's American agriculture at its finest. And that's the story of how millions of pounds of asparagus are harvested every single year. If you found this fascinating, hit that subscribe button. We've got more stories from American farms that'll change how you think about the food on your table. And check out the next video on your screen. You won't want to miss it.